Okay, my friends, I thought we'll continue our conversation on Jesus for Enlightenment. And some of that material is coming to you from this book, The Third Jesus. Oh, sorry, this is not the right book. This is called Jesus, A Story of Enlightenment. But somewhere here is also The Third Jesus. This is my take on historical fiction of Jesus. But let me explain to you what I mean by the third Jesus. The first Jesus is the theological Jesus. The second Jesus is the historical Jesus. So let's say the first Jesus is the historical Jesus mentioned by Josephus, the Roman historian, but he gives the historical Jesus only like 3 or 4 lines in a paragraph, mentioning Jesus as a rebellious upstart, a rebellious rabbi who was assassinated by the Romans. That's it from Jesus, from Josephus. So not much mention of the historical Jesus. Then there's the theological Jesus that comes from the Gospels, including, the 4 Gospels, but there are other Gospels as well, including what we call the Gospel of Thomas. And then, of course, that Jesus is the basis of, theology, doctrine, religious dogma, etc. But then there's a third Jesus, and that third Jesus is a state of awareness, a state of consciousness that manifests as infinite possibilities. So given that, and I'm looking for my book, The Third Jesus, somewhere here, and I can't find it, but I'll just take one of the lessons from Third Jesus. I can't find the book right now, so never mind. But one of his sayings, the kingdom of heaven is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. And of course, there are other places where Jesus mentions the kingdom of heaven, and referring to God, he says, our Father who art in heaven, thy kingdom come. Come here as it is in heaven. And then, of course, in the Gospel of Thomas, somebody asked Jesus, when will the kingdom come of heaven come? And Jesus responds by saying, it is already here, you do not see it. So this is a kind of, you have to remember that when we talk about the time of Jesus, the metaphors that Jesus uses are actually metaphors of a particular culture, the Jewish culture, at that particular time in our history as humans. So our Father implies automatically our mother, just like our mother automatically implies our Father. But that's the metaphor of that time. Who art in heaven? What is heaven? And then he also speaks about this kingdom of heaven, which is within. Now, I'm not asking you to buy this interpretation, but it is a very reasonable interpretation. The kingdom of heaven is not a location in space-time, although it can be projected as a location in space-time. It's a frequency domain of consciousness, just like any ecosystem or any kingdom is. We use words like the plant kingdom, the vegetable or plant kingdom. What do we mean? We mean that consciousness is manifesting as that ecosystem of relationships that we call plants, the animal kingdom, and the primate kingdom. But then, the same things apply to ecosystems of ideology and relationships. The kingdom of Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, or even go beyond that, empires, or go and the economic ecosystem, separate kingdom. Okay. So every domain of experience has its own ecosystem of relationships that then projects as a physical manifestation. We can look upon New York City as a location in space-time, but we can also look upon New York City as the diversity of ethnicities, nationalities, cultures that projects as the experience of New York City. Or we can look at a rainforest, and we can see that that is the projection of an ecosystem of what we may say genetic information, including plant genes, human genes, animal genes, etc. So are these kingdoms real, or are they projections? In the Eastern wisdom traditions, they are called lokas, L-O-K-A-S, which is also, that's a Sanskrit word, but then there's an English word for it, locus, or Latin word, locus, location. Location in space-time. But the location in space-time is a projection of a group consciousness. So the kingdom of heaven on earth, what would it be? It would be a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And that would be a manifestation of our collective consciousness. So that's a loka, that's a kingdom. As there are many other lokas, communism, socialism, tyranny, you name it. Infinite lokas, infinite universes coming and going in the vast expanse of consciousness